2 million famine-affected people were left without access to food. People died because of those actions. Mothers, fathers, and children. Tons of emergency food that could have saved their lives was left rotting in warehouses because you and Elon Musk refused to let USAID do its job. Sudan is a country where, by the administration's own determination, a genocide is unfolding in Darfur. But here's where it goes from...
Why is the Biden administration blocking American energy production while making us more dependent on China for critical minerals? Today, we're looking into one of the most jaw-dropping, infuriating, and frankly un-American exchanges I've ever seen come out of a Senate hearing. I'm talking about the one where a Republican senator absolutely rips into the Biden administration's Secretary of the Interior, and rightfully so. This is the Prodigy Unfiltered. Welcome back to the channel.
Senator Van Hollen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, you and I served together in Congress for 15 years. We didn't always agree, but I believe we shared some common values. A belief in defending democracy and human rights abroad, and honoring the Constitution at home. That's why I voted to confirm you. I believed you would stand up for those principles. You haven't. You've done the opposite. And you used to speak with conviction about the importance of foreign aid as a tool to advance American values and interests. Then you stood by while Elon Musk took a chainsaw to USAID and other assistance programs. That has left a staggering toll. Broken trust with countries, openings for China and other adversaries, and countless preventable deaths of children and others. Take Sudan, for example. The freezing of U.S. humanitarian assistance forced the closure of nearly 80% of the emergency food kitchens there. 2 million famine-affected people were left without access to food. People died because of those actions. Mothers, fathers, and children. Tons of emergency food that could have saved their lives was left rotting in warehouses because you and Elon Musk refused to let USAID do its job. Sudan is a country where, by the administration's own determination, a genocide is unfolding in Darfur. But here's where it goes from cruel to despicable. While cutting off food aid to Sudanese families living through an actual genocide, you're fast-tracking white South Africans for refugee status under a manufactured claim that they are the victims of genocide. You tried to block the admission of individuals who had already been approved to come here as refugees while making bogus claims to justify granting such status to Afrikaners. You've made a mockery of our country's refugee process, turning it into a system of global apartheid where political ideology and race, more than truth or need, matter. And while you've turned away from a genocide in Sudan and invented one in South Africa, you teamed up with President Trump to throw the Ukrainian people under the bus and have been played like a fiddle by Vladimir Putin. Of course, Donald Trump not only said he would end the war in Ukraine on day one, he also said he would end the war in Gaza on day one. And yet last week, you were all running around to Gulf states, giving away very sensitive American AI and chips technology, but doing nothing to end the war in Gaza and get the remaining hostages returned. You know that for 78 days, the Netanyahu government did not allow a scrap of food to enter Gaza to reach over 2 million civilians. 57 children have died from malnutrition so far, and more than 14,000 children are in imminent danger of dying of starvation. As Cindy McCain said last week, and I quote, "Families in Gaza are starving while the food they need is sitting at the border." That is a gross violation of both U.S. and international law. What did you do? Nothing. Not once did you publicly call upon the Netanyahu government to end the blockade. Fortunately, other countries spoke out, and now we see a tiny trickle going in. Where have you focused your energy instead, Mr. Secretary? Well, your first trip as Secretary of State was to El Salvador, not to promote democracy, but to cozy up to President Bukele, who calls himself the world's coolest dictator. The result was a cash for collusion deal to deprive people living in America of their constitutional rights to due process. The Supreme Court, in a 9-0 decision, instructed you to facilitate the return to the United States of Abrego Garcia, who the administration admitted was wrongfully deported to El Salvador. Your response? You've openly flouted judicial orders. When asked whether you have been in touch with El Salvador to return Abrego Garcia, you boasted, quote, "I would never tell you that. And you know who else I would never tell? A judge." Clearly, you don't care about the Fifth Amendment right to due process, and you don't care about the First Amendment either, since you've been very busy snatching students off of college campuses for exercising their right to free speech. You dredged up a relic from the McCarthy era to claim that student protesters posed a threat to the foreign policy of the United States. Give me a break, Mr. Secretary. You know as well as I do this isn't about national security, it's about punishing free speech. And you know that in America, the government doesn't get to use its power to punish speech it doesn't like. Yet in March, you boasted about revoking student visas, saying, and I'm quoting, "We do it every day. Every time I find one of these lunatics, I take away their visa," unquote. Let's look at one of those lunatics, Mr. Secretary, Ms. Ozturk. Her crime was co-authoring an op-ed in her college paper critical of Tufts University's response to the war in Gaza. Your own department found zero links to terrorism, no anti-Semitic statements, but you still yanked her visa and shipped her off to detention in Louisiana. And the list goes on and on. The federal judge in the case of Mohsen Madawi, who is the Columbia student who was ambushed by federal agents at his citizenship appointment, said, and I quote, this is the judge, "Legal residents not charged with crimes or misconduct are being arrested and threatened with deportation for stating their views on the political issues of the day. Our nation has seen times like this before, especially during the Red Scare and Palmer raids. Like the McCarthy-era witch hunts of the 1950s, your campaign of fear and repression is eating away at foundational values of our democracy. Back then, it took one voice, Attorney Joseph Welch, to cut through the hysteria with the simple question that marked the beginning of the end of that shameful era. He asked Senator McCarthy, have you no sense of decency? And I would ask you the same, Secretary Rubio. But you have shown through your words and your actions what the answer is. And I have to tell you directly and personally that I regret voting for you for Secretary of State. I yield back.
May I respond?
You may sit.
Well, first of all, your regret for voting for me confirms I'm doing a good job, based on what I know.
Well, that's just
your
a
record and
flippant
what you
statement,
stand
Mr.
for.
Secretary.
Can I respond, Mr. Chairman?
You may.
I didn't
Okay.
ask
Senator,
questions.
please let the Secretary have
I'd be
the floor.
happy to, but then I can respond to his
Your
response.
time's up, Senator, and willfully used, I might add.
Well-
your remarks do not represent the view of this committee.
Well, Mr. Chairman-
Secretary, please.
Well, I'd like to. I can't respond to everything he said because much of these are untrue, but I'll go through a few. First of all, I'm actually very proud of the work we've done with USAID. For example, I don't regret cutting $10 million for male circumcisions in Mozambique. I don't know how that makes us stronger and more prosperous as a nation.
I raised
don't regret
Sudan, Mr.
psychosocial support services.
I
for
raised
USAID.
Sudan, Mr. Secretary,
Can I
not
respond, Mr.
Mozambique.
Chairman, or do I?
Senator, I'd ask you to suspend. You had 7 straight minutes of
I chose
railing
to
on-
use my time that way, Mr. Chairman. That's my right to
Please
use my
suspend
time that way.
Secretary Rubio.
Well, I can go on. I mean, there's other things here. We spent $227,000 for Big Cat's YouTube channel from USAID. We spent $14 million for social cohesion in Mali, whatever the hell that means. So I can go on and on. I got the list here, and there's more. I didn't even bring the whole list. In the case of El Salvador, absolutely. Absolutely. We deported gang members, including the one you had a margarita with. And that guy is a human trafficker, and that guy is a gangbanger, and the evidence is going to be clear. In the days to come,
Mr.
you're going to see
Chairman,
who you went to
look,
defend.
Senator,
I'm sorry,
please,
Mr. Chairman.
Secretary
No.
Rubio has the floor.
Mr. Chairman, he can't make unsubstantiated
Senator,
comments like that.
Secretary Rubio has the floor. You had
Secretary
your time.
Rubio should take that testimony to the federal court of the
Senator-
United States because
Well,
he hasn't done it under oath.
Here's another point, okay? There is a division in our government between the federal branch and the judicial branch. No judge in the judicial branch cannot tell me or the president how to conduct foreign policy. No judge can tell me how I have to outreach to a foreign partner or what I need to say to them. And if I do reach to that foreign partner and talk to them, I have under no obligation to share that with the judiciary branch. Just like a judge cannot order me to negotiate with a foreign minister of Russia, they cannot order me to negotiate with a foreign minister or the president of El Salvador. And if I did negotiate with them, which we have responded to them, and And we've told them, we've had communications with the president of El Salvador. I am under no obligation, under our division of powers in this country, and to share with the judicial branch how I conducted diplomacy of the United States. It would actually be counterproductive. If I started sharing with courts, or frankly, with the media, my conversations with foreign leaders and all of their details, no foreign leader would talk to me again, and we would break trust with them. So I have complied with every court order. What I won't comply with is an order to disclose what I'm saying and what we're talking about with a foreign leader, because then they won't talk to me. Diplomacy doesn't work that way. About the student visas, let me say this. I don't deport anybody, and I don't snatch anybody. The State Department does not have officers in the street snatching everybody. What I do is revoke visas, and it's very simple. A visa is not a right. It is a privilege. People apply for student visas to come into the United States and study. And if you tell me that you're coming to the United States to lead campus crusades, to take over libraries and try to burn down buildings and acts of violence, we're not going to give you a visa.
Is that what Ms. Ozturk did?
We're not going to give you a visa.
Is that what she did? Come on, Mr. Secretary.
And every single one of these cases, the factors are different.
Senator,
the bottom line is, if you're coming here to stir up trouble on our campuses, we will deny you a visa. And if you have a visa,
First Amendment apply to
we'll revoke
living in the United States?
And we're going to do more. There are more coming. We're going to continue to revoke the visas of people who are here as guests and are disrupting our higher education facilities. People are paying money. These kids pay money to go to school, and they have to walk through a bunch of lunatics who are here on student visas.
Disrupting the foreign policy of the United States.
I want to do more. I hope we can find more of these people.
That's pathetic, Mr. Secretary.
In fact, the other day, some guys led a riot. I forgot what university it was, and I asked, please, can you find the arrest records of all the people that were arrested at that riot at that campus? Because if any of them have a visa, we're going to revoke it.
I feel so much safer when you lock up people like Ms. Ozturk, Mr. Secretary.
We've had enough time on the subject. Thank you very much.
Now, what we just witnessed was a rare moment of honesty from this administration. The cold, bureaucratic indifference to American workers, to our energy independence, and to the sovereignty of this nation was laid bare, and you better believe I've got something to say about it. Let's break it down point by point. One EV mandates, the Trojan horse for Chinese control. First off, the senator came out swinging, questioning these sweeping electric vehicle mandates the Biden administration keeps ramming down our throats. Now listen, I'm not anti-technology, I'm not anti-clean energy, but I am anti-stupid
Of course, Donald
policy.
Trump not only said
And
he would
it's
end the war in
stupid,
Ukraine
no,
on day
it's
one.
reckless.
He
To force
also
our
said he would
economy
end the
and
war
even
in
our
Gaza
military
on
to
day
rely on EV
And yet
batteries
last
made
week
with
you were all
metals that
running
we don't
around
even
to Gulf
produce here.
states,
China
giving away
owns
very
lithium,
sensitive
cobalt,
American AI and
graphite.
chips technology,
They control the supply chain.
but doing nothing
And yet,
to end the war
here
in
we
Gaza
are handing them the
and get the
keys to
remaining
our
hostages
economy.
returned.
What part of this sounds like
You know
national
that
security?
for 78
The
days,
senator
the
asked
Netanyahu
her,
government did not allow
who's
a
the top
scrap
producer of
food
lithium?
to enter Gaza
She
to
didn't
reach
know.
over 2
Cobalt.
million civilians.
She didn't know.
57
Graphite.
children have died from
She didn't know.
malnutrition so far.
It's China.
And more than
Every time.
14,000 children
And they're
are
not
in
just
imminent
selling us the
danger
stuff out of
dying
kindness.
of
They're
starvation.
building leverage.
As Cindy
This is
McCain
basic
said last week,
geopolitics.
and I quote,
Why are our
"Families in
leaders
Gaza
so
are
eager
starving
to make
while the
America
food
weak?
they need is
2,
sitting at the
blocking
border."
American minds,
That is a
boosting
gross
Chinese
violation
industry.
of both
This
U.S.
is the
and
part that
international
really
law.
burns me up.
What did
We've
you
got
do?
the minerals right here in
Nothing.
America.
Not
Nickel,
once did you
copper,
publicly call
cobalt,
upon the
Minnesota,
Netanyahu
Nevada,
government
Alaska,
to end
you
the
name
blockade.
it. But instead of developing
Fortunately,
those
other countries
resources,
spoke out, and
this
now we see a
administration
tiny
is blocking
trickle
permits, shutting
going
down
in.
projects, and
Where
handing
have
our
you focused
future
your
over to the
energy
Chinese
instead, Mr.
Communist
Secretary?
Party.
Well,
Why?
your first trip
Because
to Secretary
of
of State was to El
iconic
Salvador.
ecological systems.
Not to promote democracy.
Listen, I love nature.
but to cozy
I love
up to
this
President
land.
Bukele,
But you
who
know what
calls
else is
himself
iconic?
the world's
The American worker.
coolest
The
dictator.
towns gutted by
The result
globalization.
was a cash
the
for
men and women
collusion
who
deal
used to build,
to deprive
drill, and
people
mine,
living in
and now
America
get told to flip
of their
burgers or
constitutional
go
rights
code.
to due process.
You can't power
The
an
Supreme
economy
Court,
on
in a
iconic
9-0
views.
decision, instructed
You need
to
jobs.
facilitate
You need
the return to the
independence.
United States of
You
Abrego
need
Garcia,
steel, coal,
who the administration
copper, and
admitted
grit. 3,
was wrongfully
the job
deported to El
comments that
Salvador.
exposed it all.
Your response?
And then came the moment.
You've
The
openly
secretary
flouted
says,
judicial
with a straight
orders.
face, that
When
we
asked
have
whether you had been in
1.9
touch
jobs
with
for
El Salvador
every
to
American.
return Abrego
That we don't
Garcia,
have enough people
you
to fill
boasted,
jobs.
quote, "I
Yes,
would never
let that
tell you
sink
that."
in.
And
In
you
the
know
middle
who
of a
else I would
debate
never
about
tell?
blue-collar job
A judge.
loss, this administration basically
Clearly,
says,
you don't care
we got
about
enough
the
jobs.
Fifth Amendment right to due
No
process,
worries.
and you
What a
don't
slap
care
in the
about
face.
the First
To
Amendment
every
either,
factory
since you've been
worker
very
laid off.
busy
To every
snatching
miner
students
who
off of
lost his
college
livelihood.
campuses
To
for
every
exercising
Midwestern
their
family
right to
crushed
free
under
speech.
decades of
You
trade
dredged up
deals
a
and
relic from
climate
the McCarthy
mandates.
era
This
to
is
claim that
elite
student
arrogance on full
protesters
display.
posed a threat to
This
the foreign
administration
policy of the
sees
United
American
States.
workers as
Give me a
expendable.
break, Mr. Secretary.
It's that simple.
You know as well
4,
as I do,
green
this
jobs
isn't about national
or
security.
green fantasy.
It's about punishing
Now, of
free
course,
speech.
they try to spin
And you
it.
know that in America,
We're
the
creating
government
green
doesn't
jobs,
get
they
to
say.
use its power
We're plugging
to
orphan
punish
wells
speech
and doing
it
mine
doesn't like.
reclamation. Folks,
Yet in
let's
March,
get real.
you boasted
Those are
about
not
revoking
long-term
student
solutions.
visas, saying, and I'm
Those
quoting,
are Band-Aids.
"We do it every
You don't
day.
build national strength
Every
on
time I
government
find one
contracts
of
to
these
clean up
lunatics,
abandoned
I
projects.
take away their visa."
You build it by empowering industries,
look at one of those
not smothering
lunatics,
them.
Mr. Secretary.
And let me tell you something
Ms.
else,
Oster.
those green
Her crime
jobs. They're
was
heavily
co-authoring an
subsidized,
op-ed in her
propped up
college
by
paper
taxpayer
critical
money.
of Tufts
They're not
University's
organic, not
response to the war in
scalable,
Gaza.
and not anywhere
Your
close
own
to replacing
department
what we've
found
lost
zero
in
links
coal,
to terrorism,
oil, and
no
heavy
anti-Semitic
industry.
statements.
5.
But
The
you
bigger
still
picture.
yanked her visa
This is about control.
and shipped her off to
This
detention
isn't just about mining
in Louisiana.
or even energy.
And the list
It's
goes
about the
on
left's
and
obsession
on.
with control.
The federal
They
judge
want to
in the
control
case
how we
of
drive,
Mohsen
what we
Madawi,
eat, what kind
who
of
was the
job we can
Columbia
have,
student who was
and even
ambushed
what
by
kind of
federal
fuel
agents
powers
at
our
his citizenship
military.
appointment,
They're not
said, and
trying
I
to
quote,
save the
this is the
environment.
judge,
They're trying to reshape
"Legal
society.
residents not
And in the
charged with
process,
crimes or
they're
misconduct
turning America
are being
into a
arrested
second-tier
and threatened
country,
with deportation
dependent on foreign
for stating their
adversaries.
views on
Weak,
the political issues
compliant.
of the day.
6.
Our
A
nation
word
has
to the
seen
working
times
class.
like this before.
If you're a blue-collar
especially during
worker
the Red
watching this,
Scare
if
and
you've been
Palm
laid
raids.
off, priced out,
Like
told
the
your job
McCarthy
doesn't
era witch
matter,
hunts of the
I want you to hear me
1950s,
loud and
your
clear.
campaign of
You
fear
matter.
and repression
Your
is
work
eating away at
matters.
foundational
Your
values
dignity
of our
matters.
democracy.
Your town
Back
matters.
then, it took one voice.
And no matter how many
Attorney
government
Joseph
suits tell
Welch
you
to cut
to
through the
just move
hysteria
on,
with the simple
you're
question
not the problem,
that
they
marked
are.
the beginning of the end
What
of that
we just
shameful
saw
era.
in that hearing is
He
a
asked
symptom
Senator
of a
McCarthy,
deeper
"Have you no
sickness.
sense
An
of
elite
decency?"
class that looks down on
And I would
American
ask you the
workers,
same,
sells out our
Secretary
industry,
Rubio.
and tells us
You have
it's all
shown
for our own good.
through your words
But
and
we
your
see
actions
through it.
what
We
the
know what they're
answer is.
doing.
And
And
I
we're
have
not
to tell you
staying
directly
silent.
and personally
Share this
that I
video.
regret voting
Let
for
people
you for
see what they
Secretary of
said.
State. I
Comment
yield
below.
back.
Tell me what
Can
you
I
think.
respond?
And if
You
you're
may, sir.
tired of
Well, first
watching
of all, your
America
regret
be
for voting for
dismantled
me
piece by
confirms I'm doing a
piece,
good job,
then stand
based
up.
on what I know.
Well, that's
Speak
just a
out.
flippant statement,
Vote
Mr.
like your
Secretary.
life
Can I respond,
depends on
Mr.
it.
Chairman?
You
Because
may.
it does.
I didn't ask.
Senator,
This
please let
is
the
Prodigy
Secretary-
I'd be
Unfiltered.
happy to, but then I
Like,
can respond
share,
to his-
subscribe,
Your
and
time's
stay
up,
in the fight.
Senator, and
God
lawfully
bless
used, I
America.
might add.